Hello and welcome back to the GameStar Season 4 qualifiers for Heroes of the Storm here in Australia and New Zealand. We're into Game 2 of the Week 1 Round 1 series between Darksided and NMD. Darksided are 1-0 up in an incredible comeback on the Towers of Doom, and now we're into Dragonshire, and we're already partway through the draft as we did get the identical start to the draft from NMD, banning away the Oriole, picking up the Tassadar right off the bat, whereas on the side of Darksided, they are banning away the Genji. They used it very well in the previous game, but they are going to pick up the Malthael and the Chromie. So the Darksided Chromie, we saw it last season, we saw it in the preseason or the off-season tournament, doing so much work, and also this Malthael. It is going to be a very interesting composition coming out for Darksided, whereas NMD, they were in control for the majority of that game 1, and to let it slip out of their hands, very, very unfortunate that that's how it ended up coming to be. But they've got to turn it around. It wasn't too long in between games, just a few minutes, but now they have to see whether or not they've feel as though it was a compositional thing, or if it's something that they have to switch up in the draft. As they are going to be picking up the Greyman again, but they are going to take away the Anubarak. We saw, we did see it was Darksided did have the Anubarak. It was actually Sargent who was playing it. We had Robodoba actually on the Leoric, which is interesting considering Robodoba's past with Anubarak and his proficiency on the hero for quite some time. But it was very interesting way they played out the draft, or played out that game, and it was incredible. So not wanting to allow Darksided to get another swing at that hero, taking it away, and now we have to see how we go through these next bans. I'm not entirely sure that we'll be seeing a Chen. Ooh, it actually is going to be the ban, so maybe there's something that Darksided know that we don't. The Uther is going to be taken away. That's a big tool taken off the board for Darksided. We've seen it be used time and time again. Moob's making those big plays on that hero, and when he's able to get that hero so frequently, he's just able to be so comfortable on that hero. So just moving him off his comfort onto something else. We'll have to see what they have. See what else they have in the tank. I mean, Malthael and Chromie, that's a rather unusual combination of heroes to pick up at the very start of a draft. But looking at the lineup of Darksided, it's not too unusual, I guess. Just looking, just wondering who it will be that will be picking up these heroes. I do believe that it is going to be the ETC Malfurion, a tried and true combo from eons ago. The lockdown combo is just absolutely obnoxious, and with how much control they will have, this is going to be allowing the Chromie just such easy targets to line up her damage against. So that could be a real big problem coming in for the NMD lineup, but they're not able to deal with that Chromie and the amount of damage coming out, and they could get, it is quite easy to get locked down by an ETC and a Malfurion duo. They are going to be taking a decent amount of damage. So I do believe it will be Robodoba on that ETC, as that is one of those heroes that he is very proficient on. We've seen him use that to great effect over the years. And now we're into the last two picks for NMD. For the other healer, they actually picked up the Malfurion for themselves in the previous game, but they aren't able to pick up that for themselves. So what do they end up going for? They like the Rhaegar. It's actually going to be the Stukov picked up. It's also the Ragnaros. Wow, a very interesting last two picks. So it is going to more than likely be the Ragnaros to try and handle that Malthael in that solo lane, and the Stukov and the Tassadar. There's a lot of sustainability in that lineup, and again, they are going with that Greymane for to shoulder the burden of a lot of the DPS for the team, and it was doing so well for the majority of the previous game, but as we got later and later into the game, Darksiders showing their mettle and able to play this fight just a little bit better and just clean up that game in the end. And now, last pick for Darksiders. What do they want to go for? They already have their frontliner in the ETC. Another DPS might help, or even another frontliner to help out the ETC, because over the years he has taken some nerfs, taken some hits to his durability. He is not as powerful as he once was, and he's going to be the Nazebo. So a pick that we haven't seen too much over the past month or two. He did drop off a fair bit thanks to the rise of well, just the introduction of things like Genji and Illidan to the meta, and it just makes mages so hard to play. They just get preyed upon so easily, but with a lot of those off the board for this map, that Nazebo could get a lot of work done, and as we get later and later into this game, that damage is really going to be a problem for NMD to deal with. But we are going to be getting into game. This is game 2 of this best of 3 series between Darksiders and NMD. It was a crazy game 1. I'm very much hoping we get a similar result, similar kind of game in game 2. But regardless of how it goes, very excited to see how this one turns out. So we are getting into
heroes. Prepare for combat.
Yes. Anyway, on the blue side we have Darksiders. Sarshan is actually going to be on the ETC. Hacky is on the Chromie. As per usual, Moops is on Malfurion. Robodobo is actually going to be on the Malthael. And Demise is on the Nazebo. Very interesting hero selections for... or it's really weird because for years now we've seen Robodobo as just that solid frontline warrior player, but I guess with him coming into a new lineup, you're trying to be a little bit more of a role player and probably trusting in the synergy of the other four a little bit more to allow Sarshan to be that frontliner.
5,
Forcing him back
4,
onto
3,
Malthael, whereas
2,
on the red side we
1.
do have NMD down 0-1 in this series. It is Hiccup on Nubarak, Ninja on Greymane, Lahal on the Stukov, Vikarak on Ragnos, and Physics is on the Tassiter. Alright. Level 1. Not much happening. Just a little bit of posturing. We do usually just try and but a lot of damage to his face. They definitely walk a different way. The damage is returned. The Vikarak tried to finish off that kill, but wasn't enough, as the first kill of the game is going to go over to Darksiders. It looked like it was going to be Sarshan overextend himself for absolutely nothing, but in the end it is going to be a kill to Darksiders. So a nice start to for them. They are going to be able to rotate a little bit quicker. Looks like they want to get aggressive onto the power slide. They do get the lockdown combo, and that's a lot of damage going in after that Nubarak, and that's what I was mentioning during the draft. The ETC power slide, the Malfurion entangling route into all of the damage from the
dragon's power is yours.
So much to deal with, and the Nubarak, you may have that spell armor, but it's just not nearly enough to deal with the sheer numbers. And they're doing it again. Certain time to help out. That would have been a really dead Tassiter. This 3-man rotating gank squad coming out from Darksiders, already doing so much work and forcing back NMD, forcing them to be a little bit more respectful of the positioning of Darksiders. Shot from the Chromium. Although both of the shrines are going to go in favor of Darksiders, they're not going to be able to get any position. He is not going to allow them to grab that Dragon Knight just yet. not too worried about those early Dragonites. He did get a bit of a buff recently, so he does do a little bit more early damages. He's going to cop a few shots from Hacky on the Chromie. Is going to be fine nonetheless. We are getting level 4 for both sides. It's half a level lead in favor of Darksider, but not too much to worry about just yet. But one thing to note is that Darksider, with this 3 main Gangster squad, they do have control over the center of the map, forcing members of NMD to rotate with much more respect to what's coming out. As we are going to end up flipping over those yet again, to force members of NMD to react. The Tazza in the middle lane is going to prevent any kind of capture of the Dragon Knight, but with him being pretty much tied up in that mid lane, it is going to allow Darkside to do whatever they want. But Robert is doing Dragon, it's just the amount of sustain and damage coming out of that Malthael is just too much to deal with in that 1v1. We do actually have physics posturing towards going towards the top side to try and help out with that lane, but realizing that with the situation of the ultras, they just can't really do too far away from it. Forced them to around with a lot of them. There's the damage going in onto that middle right. There's so much, and there's not enough healing, not enough durability, just not enough anything to keep that Nubrak alive against all of those damage coming out from Darksider. And they are going to flip over both of those shots yet again, and there's absolutely nothing that can be done about it. He is going to pick up this first Dragon Knight of the game, and this could very well just start ballooning this experience lead. Right there is doing so much work. He does avoid that secondary tower shot, and that is going to be a 1v1 kill going over to Robodoba. And wow, transitioning over to this melee DPS role is doing quite well so far for the former Nomia player, and very interested to see how this is going to translate throughout the rest of the season. He was playing the Leoric in the previous game, which wasn't too much of a divergence from what we've been seeing him in the from his previous role, but this what's his name? The Malthael is quite a departure from what we're used to seeing from him, but he is taking to it just fine. We are just going to be getting back into the game very shortly. Just a few lag issues. Not in ANZ event without a few lag issues, but we are back into it. Hacky just hacking away at some of those early towers, which is pretty much what you can expect from those early Dragonites, and we're going to expand this lead. It is going to be very nice being for Hacky. Once he gets out of this Dragonite, he will have access to his heroic already on that Chromie. You can literally just the slowing sand, which is going to be 75 for all of this to try and help out with there's not really much left. As does have to be very careful with how he comes out of this dragon. It does have to back away before he does end up ejecting himself from that Dragon Knight. So about a level in favor of Dark Knight. They do have that sand for hacking. They can start apply some more pressure as this 4-stack. Robodoba is pretty much controlling his top side of the map, and with no help coming out from the rest of NMD. This Ragnaros is just forced to rotate with the team, trying to get some of them elsewhere on the map. It takes a lot of damage healing, and the hospital coming out from help out in sustaining that, but there's only so often you can do that, as they are going to get advantage onto the side of the map, as knocking a lot of damage. And the Diva does not have sustainability. The healing off the Malcolm is not able to help out Malcolm Speed. They end up losing the Nubrak. They do end up capturing the camp, but Robodoba coming up on the side as the slowing down is doing so much work. They do mention the podcast more than a minute. Trying to get out of there, he doesn't get hit by the kind of damage, but the power slide is going to try and finish him off, but the shielding is just too much. EDC does fall, so it is going to be a 1-for-1 trade. But the camp does go over to NMD, and it's a very nice invade coming out. yeah, they realized that it was just this squishy members of Dark Side on that camp, and they had to get really aggressive. There was not enough meat there for Dark Side to stick around, and they did end up just trading in the end. Rogues now for the rest of the Dark Side lineup, but they're not in a position to try to take advantage of it just yet. We do have the Monster Pit, we do have the Twilight Dream, Tormented Souls, and the Gargantua. Nothing too out of the ordinary there. Just solid picks all around. We do
Free
have
the Dragon
Flailing
Knight
Swipe, which
and
has
slaughter your enemies.
ended up being the word of choice. Why that was so hard for me to think of, but we did have that camp on the wrong side taken by NMD. Keeping under pressure, even allowing NMD to force control as such. Very dangerous manner. Safely to no lava shenanigans as we want to see here in A and Z, but this is going to be standard as can be. Force Wall has ended up being going back to being the more favourable for choice for Tesla. So many fun plays happening with that bullets. If they use up the Sergeant, this is going to be only staying up that block. He's going to be how would those really helpful once we get a lot of damage. The team does get a pop, but they're not able to take advantage of it at all. It's going to force away the members of NMD from the point. It is going to end up with the Dragon Eye being available for Dark Side, but they're not able to do anything about it. Vigorak on the Ragnar's cannot deal with that in that 1v1, so he's going to come to that deny any chance of that Dragon Eye being secured. Demise is going to be here. He's going to be stacking up those 100, which is pretty decent as we get later and later into this game. Will be, if he is going to be going for the Vile Infection at 20, that magic number of 175. If he knows he get that, then his damage will absolutely snowball out of control. But with this extra attention being applied into the mid lane by Dark-Sided, it is given up a lot of pressure elsewhere on the map. So we do have Vigorak taking that top shrine, while the rest of the team is going to be capturing this bottom one. There's not really a hell of a lot that the rest of Dark-Sided can do about it, especially with two of the members in the middle lane just getting delayed by physics on this Tassadar. Alright, so we are getting yet another pause. It does seem that the ETC has disconnected. We should be getting back into the game rather soon. As we look at some of the talents, I was mentioning the prog rock. So with ETC, he's not necessarily wanting to go for the block party. They're not really going to be able to get too much value out of that. And with the somewhat limited healing coming out of the Malfurion, that little bit of extra help coming out from the prog rock will end up doing a lot of work as we get later and later into this game, especially when you have the ETC and that the Malthael on that front line trying to soak up as much damage and trying to just be as obnoxious as possible, allowing Hacky on this Chromie to just fire away from afar. That little bit of extra healing coming out from that ETC is going to help out a lot in that regard. But looking at some of the other talents, we do have standard cocktail build coming out of the Greymane. We did see, I think it was throughout the Eastern Clash, we did start to see, especially on a map like Dragonshire, where wave clear isn't necessarily of higher priority, we start to see more of the Wizened Duelist builds going more into the Worgen form and just slapping away and just trying to get down and dirty and do a lot of the damage that way. But with the amount of control, the lockdown, and the damage coming out from this Dark-Side lineup, it is safer to go for that cocktail build, and it's a bit more of a consistent build, I guess it's one way to put it. And so just still going with that. We did have the Sulfurous Hungers into Catching Fire, nothing too out of the ordinary. And actually going with the standard what ended up becoming the growing infestation into within my reach. So all in on the lurking arm build for the Stukov. Even though this talent did get nerfed, the growing infestation, now that it does get an increased cooldown, it is still very good. That talent is so good. That lurking arm is so much work in the way the members of the dark side from the front. But we do have the popping down to a little bit more pressure. We do get the point neutralized by his sergeant as a nice time jab. It's going to interrupt. The Coon does get dropped as well, and not really too much help. They do get the lockdown onto we're not able to take advantage of it. Meanwhile, we do have he is going to be able to neutralize it again, so doesn't matter what happens on this bottom side of the map, there is going to be no drag coming out for NMD, which allows Darkseid to be a little bit more safe in giving up that bottom side of the map and just leveraging a lot of the power that they have on its top side. Doba is going to be in, but the Drax does get a nice little sneaky onto the point, and he is going to get over. And now we are going to get another invade. He's going to give it up. This is actually nothing that the Libra can do that's not exactly so much work. He used the bow charge to get in there in the first place, but now that he has done that, he had absolutely no way of getting out, and now they get into this out of the a lot of them coming out of the enemy lineup. There is not enough. Hyperion is going to be the first to fall. Rogue is trying to get in there with the himself, but he's just not able to onto any of the NMD members. He is going to fall, but it is just going to be trading back and forth. Over the grand scheme of things, it is going to be a 3-for-2, but still a nice pick up. It's actually going to be a 3-for-3 as the Chromie gets caught out with the lurking arm and also the force wall taking out a lot. We had not seen that rocket coming out of that NPC. A lot of those coming out from the Zero, but it may not be enough, and this is actually going to be a Dragon Knight going over to NMD, so you have to see how much advantage they can get out of it. We saw that when Darksider did manage to have the Dragon Knight, they were only able to get a few towers here and there, and here comes the Industry, they get the nice right end back, look at Lotus Arm, waiting there for it, not going to connect the respect damage in the great losing a bit more now. And to try and force away in the middle very low in his Dragon Knight, and that is the call for them to start back away. But a lot of pressure down, take down that middle court, and to get in, if you get the house in, the Inquisition monster does get used, but that local is there just in time. Dodo is in a good position to get that local. Solves it, and it looks like he's going to be the first victim of this fight, and also Big Mac is going to be the next one, and now Demise moving forward, trying to take down more. And Lahal is, the healing just enough with Bio, I think, able to get just out of range, and also the shielding coming out from the tower side helping out, but maybe it's a little bit too slow on that retreat for NMD. They end up losing a couple of members, and they all now started to start their own. They have equalized the experience, they are level 16 themselves as well. Doing those great damage coming out from the Chromies, landing shot after shot, and this is that Chromie pick, the Darkseid Chromie pick that the scene has only grown to fear and respect. And it was a very highly sought after pick in this draft. It was on that first location, so as a team around that. He's going to back away, grab some camps with both
The
sides.
shrines are gathering
We're just
power.
waiting for this next
The
shrine
Dragon
phase
Knight
to start up.
calls from within
like
the stone.
I'm going to get a rotation to the bottom side of the map for NMD. They're going to be the first ones there, so they're going to be the ones getting that bottom camp. But it looks like they're very careful, which because they're just waiting for him, and also that look very careful trying to move their way in there. So that is going to be the camp taken by NMD, but they're going to get cleared up with that chance.
Blue team dragon shall
Robodover
rest
is
no
going to be
longer.
forcing away
Unleash its
that
power.
Ragnaros. You can see this all game. It's just being forced away just due to the 1v1 and then very solid push coming out from NMD. The wave play isn't all that great coming out from the right now. They have the major land of center shot into physical. That is going to hurt. It's a little bit early and definitely available to help pick up. So that is going to force them to back away. We do have Robodover moving in. Does it land the wave onto Douglas? Doesn't want to in a position to try and take advantage of that, and now all 5 members of Darkseid are moving to the bottom side of the map. It looks like they want to just switch this over, try and get a Dragonite for themselves, but I think these going to the place as long as very early. They're doing a decent amount of damage as off the shot. Holding forward does get used. Darkseid as the does completely destroy the Tarzan comedy of areas of those a lot of damage. He does take the heal and the shield to help sustain him. If he does manage to survive this, he also after the first one to go down and after surviving for just a little bit longer. The Fang Rock is going to be able to sustain him, and the rest of the team moves. Looks like he is going to die. He does have the ice block, but doesn't have enough to keep himself alive. Everything is not there. And he is going to be the sole victim of this very extended fight. He's going to remain in favor of NMD. But with the top one in favor of Darksiders, it's not like we're going to be getting any Dragonite play just yet. Relatively proficient at getting that once we hit level 20, he is going to be hitting like an absolute truck. And it's going to be one thing that NMD, I'm not sure if they'll have enough healing to be able to deal with that. They're already only just managing to deal with the amount of burst damage coming out of this chromium. With that, to work their way into this sample. Space away, he is going to be forced to punch away. The dimension does get used. All they need to get out that entire Dragonite with a huge amount of damage onto it. 30 seconds down, so he does not have anything left. He is going to fall as the does get copied. Dragonite does get demolished by that. Still moving forward, those Rogan arms are doing so much work in just mitigating the amount of forward momentum out of the side of it. It's still not enough just yet. It's a nuisance to deal with. So Darksided, they managed to turn that around. They managed to pick off 2 members in the retreat, but a lot of damage down onto that middle cape, and with this bottom cape being wailed away by those siege giants. He does go in, but he doesn't have to sustain there with him just yet, and he's going to be a bit of a needless death coming out from the Nuba. Right, the rest of the team was not there. They did not have the healing, they did not have the damage to follow up on that, so just a bit of a needless death as the level 20 is now picked up on the side of Darkseid, and as I mentioned, that viral infection, he is going to
soon the shrines
absolutely
shall
explode in these fights now. I'm not sure if the rest of NMD are going to be able to sustain through all of that, but well, they do manage to survive long enough to get for themselves. They do have the nullification shield on this blunderbuss, the bio explosion switch, submerge and present, which is, I guess, rather standard across the side for NMD, whereas we do have the storm shield.
Take the Dragon Knight
trying to help out with the shielding and sustainability and durability as much as possible. That pocket of time is so obnoxious. We're already seeing how much those slowing sands are just controlling the space around these shrines, around any kind of completed contest. Now there is going to be so much rewind coming out from Mouth Fury, so he's going to have a few more spells to throw out, more to work with, and it is going to be the final curtain, so that Death Shroud is going to just linger for a little bit longer. It's a little bit of a base traders. Looks like blue team, they are going to be backing out of this. It is a bit of a game of chicken, but realizing that they don't necessarily want to be pushing on the top down the map, they are going to be pulling backwards. This is going to allow a nice push for them. They do get a little bit of early experience, but no numbers at this point. We do have both sides at level 20. Ninja cops both shots from Hacky. Jesus Christ, this clone is doing so much work as we look at the damage numbers. Not too surprising there. Popping the numbers there. Basically, going to be just holding patterns for now, as we do have all of the members of NMD on the bottom side of the map, while we have Sarshan moving into just nullify that potential Dragoniters. We do have very low, or reasonably low keeps for Darksiders, so be careful with how they fight. Goes very well in favor. Robodova gets caught out, but then he's dead. The soldier they get popped up as the power slide goes in. The Logan numbers is not there. The fuse has been used to deny the monster, but it's a little bit too late. The damage has already been done, and the members of dropping like flies. They are going to be able to get that more before, but it's just way too late. They're not able to get anything out of it. I hope that is going to be having that submerge. Going to delay that just a little bit longer, but the rest of the team is going to be finishing him off, as the Anubarak is the only one to survive, and that is a clean, absolutely clean fight coming out of Darksided. It looked like it was going to be Robodova getting caught out, but the rest of the team was there to help out. They turned that around incredibly. Now, I'm not sure if the numbers going to have enough to try and repel this. It is going to be the Dragon Knight going over to Darksided. Do they barrel through the mid lane, or they are starting to work towards the bottom side? They will have these siege camps pushing in as well, so they have a few extra tools to work with, and it looks like they could very well try and just end this game right here. We are starting to get some of the enemies coming for NMD, but they're going to have a very tough defense on their hands. They don't have their Ragnarok support in this game. I'll be big sure they don't know what to call, but I think they're going to come out. But there's just way too much damage coming out of this Dragon Knight. They're trying to repel them, but the damage coming out from the dark side is just way too much. This is absolutely nothing that NMD can do, and that is going to be game and series going over to Darksided.